There you go. Economic Development Committee meeting is called to order at 3 o'clock.
Tuesday, March.
Oh, Tuesday, March 4th, 2025. Any public comment?
Do a roll call.
Okay.
Roll call.
Robert Davis here.
Reimer here.
Morrison here.
Joseph here.
All right.
Great. Now,
Okay,
what?
public comment.
I have no hands raised.
Okay. All right. Reviewing last month's meeting minutes. Are there any corrections or additions?
I didn't see any corrections, but I did note that the mission statement was to be added to our agenda, which Angie did. So I'm grateful for that. So I think going forward, it'll be on there.
Okay,
Great.
And the only question I have is item number 2 under new business, which was revitalization grant status. Somebody talked about lottery funds or state funding, and I'd like to discuss a little bit
Wait,
more.
where is this now?
yeah, and the way that this is listed here is not quite correct. So it's the YDA. I think,
No, that's the
I think,
correction.
yeah, I think it's YDA.
That's
the YDTA, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, and so what that is the, so the Oregon Main Street, organization that the Yamhill Downtown Association is a member of.
mhm.
The Oregon Main Street, has every 2 years, a revitalization grant that is made available through lottery funds.
Oh, lottery funds, okay.
Yes. And so for this year, the grant is, they have $10 million earmarked throughout the state. And so there are some qualifications. So the communities do have to be part of the Oregon Main Street. They do have to be a level of affiliate level or higher, which the YEA is now, like that's all official. So we got approved on that.
Okay,
So that made us eligible for the first time,
Hmm,
which is great.
yeah,
Yeah, and then the YDA identified a property to apply for those funds. So the way the funds work is the Main Street organization. So in this case, the Yamhill Downtown Association would be the applicant
right,
for the funds
right.
on behalf of a property owner who is, and so what they did is they selected a property owner who is ready to go, who has you have to have 30% of the matching funds. So whatever the dollar amount for the project, or the property owner needs to have 30% at the ready to go for that. And so they selected our property next door here, the future home of Tabletop Coffee Roasters.
Oh, I see.
So the roastery and cafe. And so we've been working on an application. The application's due on the 13th. So we got a rough draft in last
So the
week.
amount of money is
It's
according to what you think you need, or
Yes,
you've
yes,
got
it's- yeah,
contractors to
yeah.
bid on it, or?
correct. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's based on exact, you have to provide a very specific budget.
I'll bet you do.
And
Yeah.
then previous year, so it's been every other year. It was up to $200,000. This year, it's up to $400,000. So the money that the
Wow.
state
That's a lot
legislature
of money.
earmarked was 10 million. In the previous years it had been, I think they started in 2017, it was
Right.
5 million. So there's more funds to go around. They do have a directive to give at least half the funds to rural areas. And there's a whole slew of questions about like the economic need and what that could mean for the community. So the nice thing is our Economic Development Committee goals and the Yamhill Downtown Association goals, like it really, those are all
Meshes,
aligned. And
yeah.
so things are like in place. And so the amount, we're not requesting nearly that much though.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
for the project that we're doing. It's
And you
pretty
guys
small.
have everything you need to apply at this point?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. So we're gonna get
So-
that in.
If you mind me asking, under 100,000?
No, it's going to be, we're still getting some numbers in, but around 200,000.
200,000,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's to help you restore and revitalize the building and the property.
We are paying for tearing down the building. So this is to build, it's new construction.
Oh.
But it could be, these funds could be for purchasing a property.
I see.
It could be for revitalizing an historic building. So there are also all these particular things that you have to adhere to as far as like the standards.
Qualify.
Yeah, standards for the historical preservation, like the national standards. And then if it's not, if it's new construction, then it has to fit with the community. And so the design has to kind of like,
So your out of pocket would be something like 60,000 for the 200,000 then? That's the matching fund?
yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
That's reasonable for 200.
I know, yeah, it's a wonderful deal. And then there's lots of it's very regulated and then you have
Oh, yeah.
to like stick with it and stuff. But it's a great deal.
But
So
what's the
that's
likelihood of like, since you, like Yamhill just identified a property and a business and potentially would receive these funds. And then next year, let's say we identify a business, what's the likelihood that they would give to Yamhill again? Do we know?
They would, like Carlton has received it twice.
Okay.
And
So
so
you
the
can
more, so the idea is with this property, the nice thing is it's small. The project is small. And it's every other year that it happens and
they make it available?
yeah, and then there are points, so a community that then has administered the grant or the downtown association or the Main Street organization that has administered the grant, then they are showing successful, like, okay, we were good stewards of the state's money and we actually like worked with the property owner and
And then the
built out
likelihood
the
of doing
money.
that again is good.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
great.
and so it's kind of the YDA felt like because this is small enough and we're already like, like kind of wheels are in motion, we're gonna be doing the project regardless, and so the timing was right to be able to like.
So is the grant actually coming from Main Street or is it coming from the state of Oregon?
It's coming from the state of Oregon,
Yeah,
yeah.
we, as my nonprofit applied for, 2 grants of a $10 million pot. And, was turned down on both of them.
So with this change though, we want to approve the minute, like, is that the only change to it is?
That is the only thing that I thought.
Is it Oregon Main Street Hub or is it rural?
Correct. Okay, so this is the rural regional Main Street hub.
Is right.
Yes, that is correct. And that is part of Oregon Main Street. And I can talk more about that when I have my YDA.
Okay, and so, other than that, and then the YDA that's the only changes to the
Yes.
minute stuff.
Yes.
So approved as, I make a motion that we approve last month's meeting minutes with corrections.
Second,
Meeting minutes are approved with the corrections. Okay, unfinished business.
you wanna take a vote now?
Oh, we do have to vote for the minutes?
I guess. Let's just be official.
Sure.
Davis, aye.
Primer, aye.
Morris and I.
Joseph, aye.
Okay. So we have approved the meeting minutes. And I did try to brush up on my Roberts rules, and so that's why it's
It's okay.
everything that I, so,
We'll all learn together.
What's that?
yeah, I know, yeah, Robert. You seem to know. Okay, unfinished business. We did not have any unfinished business necessarily noted, however, the new business is really a lot of unfinished business with
Yeah.
sense, but I anticipated to keep
That's-
having it be
That's
unfinished.
okay, that's what you have to do.
So,
And, let me just see here. Well, we'll get to this, so I'll talk about it then.
is there any other unfinished business?
We held the council retreat on Saturday and council priority number 1 is economic development. And at the retreat, we identified specific goals to be achieved under that priority. And it includes some of the things we're talking about here. So the 2 ways that this committee needs to interact with council in the near future is 1, we need to have a work session between Economic Development Committee and council. This might be new business. But I think I've mentioned it before. We need to basically have a date where the Economic Development Commission and the City Council meet together to talk about our mission, their priorities, and what we're working on for them, including the historic designation. And then So that's that. And then also just when the final version, written version of each of these priorities and goals are published and adopted by the council, then this committee then obviously is acting on that. So it's they're kind of the same thing, but some of the items that were identified as goals under the council's priority and goals are the items that this committee is working on. So
Okay.
just making sure we're aligned on.
So Shelley, do we choose the date or does the council choose the date?
I need to work with the council on that, but what I'm thinking is it's probably gonna be right before a council meeting when they're already all assembled, and then this committee will just come.
Oh, the date of the council.
Like, for example, we're meeting at 6:30 council, so this committee would meet 5:30 to
5:30.
6 or
Yeah.
5:30 to 6:30 or whatever.
Oh, that makes sense.
So I just need to find out if they want to do that Wednesday or if they want to do that April.
Okay.
I don't know if this next Wednesday is probably too short a notice, so maybe April.
Okay, and it'd be nice to have Philip back.
Yeah. So I will propose April, and I guess I can ask this committee then. Is that April? What's the second Wednesday in April?
Wednesday in April, yeah.
The 9th, okay.
Yep, the 9th.
Could everybody do a Wednesday, 5:30?
I have to be out of town for work.
Okay, we kind of need you there. So let me see if I can find some alternative dates. The other thing we might be able to do is invite city councilors to an economic development meeting that can come and see. If they could come here
Mhm.
and we could all have a work session. here.
Yeah.
So I'll find out. So our next one is April, what's the first Tuesday of April?
Yeah, it's the first.
Day is the
April Fool's Day,
the 8th,
yeah.
just the day before the city council meeting.
That's the second Tuesday though. First Tuesday is the first.
Oh, yeah, you're right. First Tuesday is the first.
And we also have a budget meeting that night, April 8th. A budget preview meeting is April 8th, which is not on your calendar. It's an adjusted date that you'll find out next week that we changed the date to that night. So anyway, okay, moving on. Back to new business.
Okay, and I think we should, maybe I'm gonna add one thing to the new business. Sue's resignation.
Yes,
So-
and we need a note taker.
And is the, okay. Yes. So did everybody see Sue's resignation?
No,
No, and I apologize. I just
I
made
just got that.
council aware of it. I think today, I
Okay,
was out of the office last week and yesterday I was working elsewhere, so.
okay,
I was at a conference last week and yesterday for council, but, so I just sent it to council today.
okay. And so is she also resigning the planning commission?
I haven't heard that yet. I just know Jaden did it. Last,
Oh, he did?
2 weeks ago or 2 months ago, rather. I'm not sure when that, but yeah, he resigned from planning commission. So we do have a spot right now on the planning commission that we've been advertising for. So now we have to, well, no, we don't have to because she hasn't resigned. If she were to, we would have to.
Okay,
But right now we have,
okay,
unless I'm forgetting. I believe she has.
okay.
Is
Did you hear that she did?
okay?
Have you heard that she resigned from the planning commission?
No, I'm just asking, no, this is all new to me,
No, that's all new.
just today, so
Wow.
I'll, get in touch with her. But I appreciate all of her time.
Yeah, and I don't know what, I'd have to look through our committee rules and resolution to see what position that is. Actually, I might have it in here and see. But I can look at that and let you guys know. Actually, I have it right here. Planning commissioner. So we do need to replace her
Okay,
with another planning commissioner.
okay.
Anyone knows anyone that wants to run for planning commission, maybe that person will also learn Janet and I tell.
Yes,
I did notify the council that they would need to appoint someone once we received any applications.
yeah,
you made yourself.
yeah.
Okay,
You mean to join some more committees? Totally.
Yeah.
You want to provide the planning commission?
Yeah, sure. What does that mean? I don't know what planning commission does. So,
They
yeah.
approve the applications that come before them for new like businesses as far as like, does it fit our code? Is it lot adjustments, like all the planning of the city? They
Yeah.
approve and make sure it aligns with our code.
Sure.
Like the gas station across the street, but had to go to the planning commission, and then whatever planning commission approves has to go before council for final approval.
Makes
So,
sense, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. When do
They
they?
have some sort of quasi jurisdictional, I don't know, what's it called, quasi judicial authority
Oh,
on
okay.
certain things. So what'd you say, when do they meet?
Yeah, when do they meet?
Is it third Monday of every month at 6:30? So our next one's March 17th, and the application is on our website under planning commission if you would like to apply. We are actively seeking applicants, and we also have a brand new planner, city
Oh.
planner contract and we have a new chair. So kind of everything is sort of starting fresh next month. A
Gotcha.
new chair, new planner, and potentially new applicant.
Who's the new planning? So is Walt retiring?
Walt has retired, and our new planner is Kurt Fisher, and he's with the Mid-Willamette Valley COG.
Oh,
And he started effective March 1st. He was on a call before that, but he, on the DLCD grants, he joined me on the February call.
okay.
But yeah, actually, I just sent him information to help us apply for the transportation system plan grant that Walt did last year for us.
So
So he's officially working.
while we're talking about it, so voting members for the Economic Development Committee is City Administrator Shelley,
Mhm.
Public Works Manager, who is
Jason.
Jason, YDA Representative Jenny,
Yeah.
who's at large?
Philip.
Philip, okay. And Planning Commissioner was Sue,
Mhm.
okay. And one downtown business representative
Dustin.
is now Dustin, okay.
And you're the resident?
And I'm the president, yeah. Yeah, okay, cool. So you got,
So we're done except for, we were full last month.
Uh-huh.
yeah,
So should we make a recommendation for a secretary for this committee?
Yes, we need one. We need minutes.
I have a suggestion. I nominate Robert as minute taker secretary.
I second that nomination.
oh, you guys,
Do you accept?
sure,
Thank
sure.
you.
Excellent, thank you.
Which we need to
So-
take a vote.
We
Thank
vote.
goodness, because my handwriting real
Oh,
bad.
Well, I don't use, I use voice recording on a Word document.
Perfect.
So,
All in favor of Robert as secretary?
Aye.
Aye. Any
Aye.
opposed?
Hearing
Say no,
none.
don't say.
Okay.
Okay,
I'm in.
let the record show that Robert is our new secretary.
I've been told worse, just not today.
Thank
Okay,
you.
perfect.
Okay.
Thank you, Robert.
Yes.
All right, moving on.
Moving along. So we have, I believe I got this straight when I was trying to come up with the agenda with the ranked opportunities of how we, at our last meeting, when we went through our list as we keep filtering it down,
Mhm.
I believe these were the 6 in order of like hot topics and things that we might have things going, things we're gonna be working on, order of priority.
Order of how we spend our time essentially on them.
I don't know, but that's, do you guys remember?
Well, I don't, it doesn't have to
Yeah.
be set in stone, but go ahead.
Yeah.
Dustin, do you have a memory?
No, I think, yeah, I mean, I think it was, we ranked them with order of importance, basically, of what we wanted to work on versus what in kind of back burner.
Okay,
And I think we were waiting to see what the council wanted from us.
yep.
Yes.
So that's sort of that work session we're trying to. get
Yeah,
through.
which is perfect. I mean,
Can I just kind of give you guys a lowdown on some of this stuff?
Please.
Okay, so the parks one, I think is first because not necessarily because it's the most important, although it's important and it is an economic driver potentially, but that project is not currently happening because we have to do a parks master plan first.
Okay,
And we're currently, the reason I think that it got bumped to one is because we are currently doing a parks master plan. We just went up to bid for that. We just hired a contractor. I actually have my very first phone call with them tomorrow to get that project going. So when that project is finished and once we have our plan in place, then we can begin to execute on what was developed in that plan as far as what the park should look like. And one of those parks, Jane Heinrich, is that potential economic development driver, which is the softball fields and all of
Got
that.
it.
So I think that's why that's number one, is just because there is movement currently on it.
okay,
However, the public square is also a potential economic driver, although somewhat less so in that it would be based on like festivals that come to town. If we bring food trucks or other activities that you put there to make money to bring tourists. But that also has some movement because I have a meeting with our new commissioner, King, and our mayor on Friday this week to talk about that property over there and potentially turning it into a town park. So there's
Okay.
movement there. So
and is there funding for that? I remember when that came up last time.
not
So-
specifically, but as it would be
Is it a park?
It would be
Yeah, you
technically
can just
considered
pull
a
the
park.
I mean,
Okay.
we have funding for the parks, right? It's just
We
a,
have some funding for parks, and so you can use some of it. you can
Yeah.
use Some SDCs and some from regular funding, but there are quite a few grants.
Hmm.
And because we're talking about maybe making it like a Veterans Memorial type park, you would have
Yeah.
additional grant opportunities. So we're gonna just pursue that, but those conversations start this
Okay,
week as
so
well.
that's with Bubba and who?
The mayor.
Mayor, awesome.
And but first we have to get that property in our ownership because it's currently not,
Okay, right.
remember?
Yes.
Yeah.
So that, and then is that,
And that's the conversation.
got it. Okay, and is is there still like that reasonable price on that too?
That's
Is
what we're
that
gonna
part of
find
it?
out.
Okay,
So I'm told that, the last administration was sort of squishy on that. We weren't 100% sure if that was still gonna be the case. And Philip basically said that Commissioner King is really intent on keeping it to that original agreement.
Okay.
We'll see. I don't know.
okay. And so then one more question about that with with our parks master plan, and that could
That
then
would be
be
part of it.
part of it, and
Mhm.
so, perfect.
And then we could develop ideas for how to increase economic development using that,
Okay,
right?
And to
So,
the best of my recollection, when the city looked into purchasing this empty lot next across the street, the restrictions were held up because it's in county receivership from taxes.
And it was a brown-
The holdup was DEQ,
Mhm.
which the remediation hadn't been completed at that time, which is now completed. But the city actually went back to the county to ask for it again, and the county said they hadn't heard from DEQ.
that's, who
So-
told you that?
Uh,
Because I actually talked to their attorney and
Oh,
that's
did
not the
you?
case. Yeah, about a year, I mean, almost the beginning of when I started, so 9 months ago. So all that's accurate with the exception of they had heard from DEQ and it's basically finalized, so.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Um,
That was
but
probably
the-
a year
but the-
old information.
Question was more, are they gonna honor the original agreement? And that was where they weren't
The
giving
the original price tag.
right, and that's where they weren't giving the answer. They were like, well, we don't know because of this and that. And so
Yeah.
that's what this meeting on Friday is to
Yeah.
talk about. So that's where we are.
Yeah,
Great.
So that's
yeah,
good.
no, appreciate it.
Okay, that's
Okay,
super positive.
historic designation.
Okay, so
So we
did
don't need
that,
that.
yes, please.
So Jenny and I talked about this a little bit, but basically we had asked for some more clarification of council, but when I mentioned it to Mayor, he said, let's just include this as part of our work session conversation. So that'll be one of the things. So at the work session, we're going to talk about council priorities and goals, the mission statements and how they align in the priorities, and then historic designation specifically.
Okay,
And some of these other, oh, and then
So all that's coming from the city council, right?
Yeah, direction on specifically what they're asking
Right.
this committee to do and
I'm
what
just,
the motivation.
I'm just taking my secretary.
I think there's, oh, yeah.
So I'm accurate.
I think, the issue with historic designation, just in having conversations with people, is it sounds to me like everybody's definition of what that means is different. And some people think designating the whole downtown is a good idea because, it would allow you to have a little bit more control over what can happen to the businesses. And other people want to do it a building at a time, so it doesn't sort of look plastic and sisters like or whatever. But even those who are talking about designating the entire downtown want to make sure it doesn't turn into a plastic system. Want to make sure it's very specific. So I think everyone's goal, overarching goal is the same as far as what they want it to eventually be. But just clarifying that,
Okay,
I think, is where we need to
Okay.
go. And then looking into what is involved. I think ultimately our job at this committee is going to be to research and look into what is involved in becoming an historically designated downtown.
okay,
And do we have to do it by building? Do we have to do it by street? Do we have options? What are the, what are the different rules? And then whatever they say we're basically qualified or eligible to do, we report that back to city council and then go from there. So I think we could even do that research now anyway, but maybe we just.
yeah, and that meeting that I was on that I talked about, I think at our last month's meeting that I sat in on through Oregon Main Street. Weekly calls, and then there was somebody from the Historic Preservation Department, and I'm not gonna repeat things I talked about it last time, and I'm gonna misquote myself, but anyway, there's great resources there available too, so if we just needed like.
At the
pull in
Oregon Main
somebody-
Street?
Yes, and through the Oregon Historic, like the parks and historic side of the state, so there's, and let me look this up, there's another thing that's coming up to something around historic designation, like a workshop, or, there's a couple of things that let me.
Could you share that fairly wide and as soon as you
Yes.
can, because at the retreat on Saturday, one of the things that came up was around this discussion was, do we want to take a trip down to the Historical Society and see pictures of what Yamhill used to look like? We have some here at City Hall, but to kind of help us come up with a cohesive,
Vision
decision.
of what it looks,
Yeah.
what should go
Exactly.
forward, yeah.
And so if there's a workshop that would help in that way too.
Yes, I'll look at it when
Council
we're
might
done
wanna
here.
go to that.
I brought my computer and so I will
Okay.
pull that up.
Send it. So did that answer those questions?
Yeah, I think so. Anything else on the historic designation, anyone?
I mean, do you guys think that we should start doing that research first or just wait until we're kind of close to having?
I
a
think
work
we
session?
should have the conversation,
Okay.
the work session, because I know like Robert started it a long time ago and Sue did, and then when we first started our EDC, it's really easy to kind of like get off on
Mhm.
tangents and get like, okay, it's until we know exactly like,
What does it mean? And
what does it mean and what are the city's priorities then? It's
like,
kind
are
of
we
just
wanting
like
a state designation or are we just want to declare it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and it seems like declaring it is probably the more efficient way to go, but that's something we
But
can.
then
look into.
what kind of control over look do you have?
Yeah, right.
Unless you specify it in your code.
yeah,
And we
Which is,
might.
which is what the planning commission does, by the way.
perfect. I like this. This is great. I don't want that much power, but yeah, I just really understand it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Great.
okay, so we'll wait and have that conversation with council work session. And then I do have a little bit of data on that. Beautification.
Sure, oh yeah, well, let's just,
Unless you have, I'll let you start.
well, I was gonna say that part of the stuff from our last month's meeting, stuff like in these categories, all like filter into or bubble up to like the business recruitment, the business retention. It's like all of these things lead to.
Yeah, that is the
Kind of-
ultimate goal, right?
Yeah,
it's
so it was
all-
really like, it was a real.
I mean, I guess it's sort of like community pride, business recruitment, vitality, really, like
Yeah,
people using the downtown shopping.
Yeah, the
supporting
services, the,
businesses,
yeah,
Yeah.
The
Enjoy.
brunch places.
that's perfect. It's going well. I like the inventory of vacant lots and buildings around here. I
Oh.
was like, that's 100% what I would
Okay.
wonder.
Yes, and
And as
that,
we,
That's a great project that we really have
yeah,
not.
because,
Yeah.
yeah, how do we bring business here as the economic people to be like, if we don't know where anything is or
Yeah.
what's available?
So going
And I
back
can-
to beautification number 4, since I am part of the seniors meeting on Fridays that I have
Ooh.
been attending. I'm basically the ears and the eyes of what's going on with the city for these people. And I was asked directly, who takes care of all the plants that are spread around the city? And I said, I have that answer. So, but anyway.
What was your answer?
YDA. And it's volunteers.
yeah, there's a
Public
woman,
Works.
Yeah,
oh,
I
well,
thought it
there's a
was Public
woman.
Works, but yeah, I don't know.
Well,
Nobody-
there's some
plants?
flowers that in the barrels,
right.
that the
And then,
YEA woman, and her name's Mary, and she lives on Olive, and she has taken it upon herself to do
Yeah,
this, and I don't know.
and I saw the city, some of Jason's crew with this wand
Yeah.
watering when the flower baskets are up in the
Yeah.
telephone poles, they're watering,
That's
you know, so. Yeah, so, yeah, and that's also what I said in addition to YDA was, and I didn't know about the individual Mary, so.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's her, I'm pretty sure that's her name, she lives
Yeah.
across from.
Is she part of YDA?
Well, she's just not on the board, but she's just been like looped in like with Kara and with Amy Brewer. Like she's been. Those are YDA people.
Cool.
She wanted to do it and then she'll get the flowers and like
That's great.
replant
Well, I
them and then.
think,
we'll
I
get
think
her-
she needs a little recognition.
Yeah, that's a good point. We have our YDA meeting coming up, but I think also with that is like to coordinate too. I think it'd be great to like
Yeah.
have a beautification, like when Jason's here, like it's like, let's have a.
So I actually, the reason I was a little bit late to the meeting was I was just hanging with Amir, who, after our retreat on Saturday, and this is not official, this is just conversational right now, but he called a friend of his who he knows, who has a business in landscaping, and just asked about trees. And according to this individual, it would not be very expensive for us to get, I don't know how many we need, 20 trees downtown maybe?
Oh.
And he has a way that you can drill a hole in sidewalk, you take the square out of the cement. And you dig a hole, put the tree in, and then they put this, I don't know, plastic thing on it so that the roots go down and then out, so they don't break up your sidewalk.
You know.
And then that square that you took out of cement, you filled with sand and bricks, which could match our bricks in our town square, which you could also engrave.
Yeah, I was gonna say we could sell those. I mean, like sell them
Yeah.
to keep funding.
Oh,
things.
yeah.
And
That's
then,
great.
and it was not very much, I'm not gonna mention the cost because none of this is official, but he was just telling me this. And he also, this gentleman that he was talking to also has connections to hanging baskets.
Great.
And so, if the price on the trees
Yeah,
it comes out to be how little it was, it would not be that expensive, and it would be something potentially our public works crew could do. And so not a huge expense, so we're
Oh
gonna
my
talk about it more and
gosh.
pursue it, but then we could potentially have trees maybe sooner than.
Oh my gosh, that is the best news.
So we'd have to figure out how many trees do we need, how far apart, because this is what the engineers normally do, and if we're not gonna bring in engineers, we're just going to make sure we map it out.
And the idea about sinking whatever plastic on it to make sure the roots go down, because you see, the city of McMinnville is faced with this
Well,
issue
they're yanking them.
where their sidewalks are being tore up by.
Well, he was on the phone with me from his job in McMinnville, and he said, unlike the tree I'm looking out my window at right now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
So,
and so, the city of McMinnville is going to actually remove all the sidewalks and most all the trees.
it's expensive.
And it's gonna cost them a fortune because these big trees, some of these trees are 3 foot through and have raised the sidewalk up probably 6 or 8 inches.
So think about how that would change downtown.
That's gonna be great.
If we could do that. So we'll obviously look into that a little bit more, and maybe by the time we have our work session, we'll have more information.
well, especially too, is like, if it, I mean, I don't know if there's a certain designated amount of trees, right? Like, but if this property is open, like if that actually goes through and that goes, I mean, you could do not more trees, but like really make that a functional looking,
Mhm,
you know,
mhm. Town
the
square,
town square living room of the
Yeah.
Ant Hill kind of thing.
for
And
sure.
maybe kind of tied and happening at the same time, so as part of, like an extension of that project, we get that going, and I think then that could be like good enthusiasm for the.
Yeah, and also the other thing that trees would do besides beautify it would be while some of our businesses are working on getting grants and funding to improve their storefronts, it could help.
Oh, totally. And there might be some grants, I'm getting lists of all the different grants from some of the other meetings that I attend. So there could be funding for this kind of a thing too.
For the trees or for the what?
Trees.
Oh, yeah, yeah, for sure. And
Yeah.
actually, that's the thing I was gonna say is, I mean, if you make a call to business orient, I guarantee you they'll be like, oh yeah, apply for this grant.
Yeah,
Mhm.
some,
So, anyway, so that was exciting to hear that. And then that would, I think, don't you think that would sort of encourage and spur on maybe some more storefront improvements, like maybe somebody would get a new sign out front or paint their curbs, or I don't know, whatever needs to be done, do some painting out front or something, just, you know, a little here and a little there, add some flower baskets.
Yes.
Add some
I think
flower
that's-
pots,
that's
whatever.
great.
So that's
hope.
encouraging.
There's hope,
Yeah.
right. With the, I know with the flowers too, I'm just thinking if we can, excuse me. And coordinate, I can find out more about like the schedule that Mary of the YDA's Mary that she's dealing with, and then with Public Works, you know, if they want to coordinate. And
How does she water them?
I don't know, I think sometimes Kara waters them too,
Like, they just bring up thing of water now?
yeah. So I gotta find out. I haven't not personally been involved
I
with that.
don't-
I was thinking,
I've
you
only seen her fooling with the flowers. I haven't seen her water. them.
Okay, so maybe that's. it.
I said maybe in a future budget, depending on how things shake out, we could budget for a watering system eventually, to where we could just water the trees and the flowers.
Oh,
during
yeah,
the
because if
summer.
we put the trees in, we have,
Yeah,
okay.
well, the trees would need to be watered every day for at least the first year during no rain.
And they make those bags that you wrap around the tree and you fill those bags up once a month. And it
Depending on
waters,
how big they are.
well, yeah, and it waters the tree for a period of time. Yeah,
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
so are we, did we talk about storefront?
No, and I was gonna ask what specifically we were thinking.
That was under, last time when we were discussing just things to support and beautification, and so how to help with storefront improvements, paint, new windows, new signage, and then plants, flowers, trees. So it was kind of all under that.
is that like something a grant would do? But like the business
Yes.
would have to
Agreed.
agree and apply,
And
right?
apply,
Right,
Yes,
so then.
yes.
Yeah.
Is it our job to go to them and say, I mean, obviously, we'd have to have that information for them, be like,
Well,
would you like more window, whatever that, I mean,
to me, it's our job to see that the city moves forward with
Yeah.
economic development.
yeah.
What we,
And that would also include going to a store person and saying, hey, look, if you are willing to change your storefront, improve it or make it
Yeah.
historic, would you be willing, if you're going to get a grant and monies to do that?
And
what
I
we
can
talked,
speak to that a little bit, but I didn't mean to interrupt you.
I was just gonna say, I think you're probably gonna say the same thing when you're gonna have more detail, but what we had talked about as a committee was our job could be to help the business owner identify the grants and then maybe help walk them through it, because one of the things I think you mentioned, I think it was you, that in the past, when they've been approached, they were interested, but they just didn't have the time. They're trying to run a business. It was
Or if
overwhelming.
it's matching funds, that's been a problem too.
And so helping walk that through that process, and then
Yeah.
you might speak more to that.
Yeah, and so there is a grant that is out, so another one through Oregon Main Street that is the $25,000 grant for, it's a storefront improvement grant, and that one is specifically for in communities that are members of Oregon Main Street, so we need that. And it is specifically for improving historic buildings. So making, like if a historic building has been, you know, over the years kind of tweaked and messed up, this is something that,
Puts it back.
yeah. And
So, but that's where I wonder, do we need a historic designation?
No,
Are you
No.
sure?
positive.
Well, what makes it a historic building then?
I can look up the information, and that one also does not require, like
Maybe the building
revitalization grant.
stage. Maybe it's just like a legitimate, like all the buildings.
Because
built
T&E
before
is the
whatever.
historic
They would be
That's-
perfect, and
yeah.
that's what, like, we've talked, the YDA has talked to T&E about that. With that particular grant, I believe that
And they were
Gene
interested in, you said,
had
right?
applied for one last year on his own with his building there.
That's an historic building?
I mean, because it's old.
What year?
Yeah,
It's
see, I think it's
50
just the
it's-
age makes it,
It's
it's just
50
that.
years,
15?
50.
Oh.
And older. So there's this grant that is available through, and I can pull this up on my computer, but again, it's through the state of Oregon. And part of the Main Street grant that is, you don't have to have then the organization apply, the property owner applies for it.
Mhm.
So that's nice. So that's something where it would be ideal for like our role in the Economic Development Committee. It's like, hey, storefront here, or I'm thinking, you know, maybe, I mean, any of the shops that would benefit.
So
they could
maybe
apply for that.
as part of our project to inventory our vacant lots and buildings, in that we identify which ones we would want to approach
Absolutely.
with grants.
Mhm.
And then you could potentially, and YDA would be a good resource for what grants they might qualify for, right? Because you guys are kind of intimately involved in that
Yeah.
right now.
And then whether or not, either if we do or don't get this grant that we know in May. But then there's in 2 years, then there's that next round. And we already have somebody who's spoken up, who's interested in perhaps being at the right time. So it's kind of like the timing and the.
And you can only do one at a time.
It depends, like that's ideally because the YDA has to then administer it, so.
But
It's
is
not a big-
T&E one of the ones that's like next in line?
They have to have, the property owner has to have the interest, the vision, the
And do they?
plan. No,
Not yet?
not yet.
Then who do we need to talk to?
Mary and Bob.
And Mary's on our committee for
Yeah,
downtown.
yeah. No, that one, that would be awesome. That would be.
So yeah, I mean, if Mary and Bob are like, hey, we like this, but we're confused, right? We don't know what we're
Right,
doing,
Mary's
busy,
had a baby.
100%, right? And then
Mhm.
we want someone could go up to them and be like,
Mhm.
here's the thought, but we need that, like, I totally understand with that, like, you're not just giving a blank check, you're going, I need like, almost like a CAD, right? Like a recad of like, here's the window, here's everything we're like,
Yeah,
we're thinking, and then that's the submitting of the grant, right? Cause you have a
Yes.
plan, you have,
it is, yeah, you have to have the whole plan.
yeah,
All the details drawn up, so it's quite extensive, so the property owner has to have the capability and the interest.
But do we have a resource to sort of walk with them through it?
Well, we're
YDA?
working through that right now with the grant, so I'm working on this particular grant that we're doing now. So the YDA is getting its chops on how to apply for this. But it's, but yeah.
So, but that's for somebody that you've already identified. I guess what I'm saying is if Bob, for some reason, said, hey, I think we're finally ready to do this. We've seen what Jenny did down there and we want to do it. Could we say, awesome, talk to YDA, they will help walk you through this?
Yeah, because it has to be, the YDA has to be the one to submit the grant.
Okay, so they have to work with YDA.
Have
So
to
you are,
work with
you have
YDA.
people that can.
Because we are the Oregon Main Street
Okay,
entity, that nonprofit.
and the city can support, but it's
Absolutely,
essentially.
yes. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
but
good.
the $25,000 storefront improvement grant, they could apply for that.
Okay, I guess that's
themselves.
what I'm asking. So if they wanted to apply for that,
They could
but
do
they
it.
don't, they were confused or overwhelmed, couldn't
Mhm.
say, there's people at YDA that are willing to help you with
Yeah,
this.
I would
Like
say
sit
so.
down next to them and be like, this
here's
is
how
what
the
they're
plan
asking.
works, here's how the, yeah.
Do you
And-
have that kind of resource at YDA, I guess?
I would say so, yeah, we could do that, and I do know that, I think that the information is, it's not quite. I think it's May that like becomes active, so I think that the current, when I checked before our last month's meeting. They still had last year's information, so that is a yearly grant that's available, which is great. And I know that
Yeah,
Amy Brewer, who was a volunteer with the YDA, she had been talking to them about, she was trying to talk to Bob, like, she printed out everything. She took it to Bob. She's like, here, this is what you can do. But I think it's not necessarily had been a priority, but I would imagine with new businesses on the street and different grocery shop,
Tree
you know,
lines and.
yeah, and now that there is maybe a little more like
Be a timing.
competition, I think the timing is perfect, and I know the community would love to get that.
well, like that bank building, I know is like for sale, right? Like,
Yes,
there's not a way to, I mean, I don't think there is, but I'm gonna say, like, there's not a way to get that applied for, right, or whatever that is, and then caveat the businesses going in there, because the building's gonna be sold, I'm assuming, right?
so the,
Cause you can probably just, the only way you can like really make sure that was not, and I'm not saying it turns into apartments, but like. The person that buys it doesn't just knock it down or
Right.
whatever that is. Is if you kept it a commercial building, which I think it is, right? It's
Yes.
its own commercial,
yes,
so then. Yeah, I don't know how you do it. In my brain, it even seems a little bit confused, right? Like if you, hey, we're applying for a grant for a building that's for sale that we're like. Kind of renovating or like changing something, right? Making it almost more enticing to sell. And as long as you kept it commercial, then we'd assume a business would go in there.
so with the, like the revitalization grant.
Yeah.
That one of the priorities for like the Oregon Historic Preservation for these grants is to have like, when possible, you know, upstairs, just like with our code development, you know, upstairs housing, whether that's apartments or
Mhm.
vacation or whatever, but upstairs residential, downstairs commercial, and that place would be ideal for that. And
Except it needs to be seismically.
yes,
And Philip is the filter behind that.
Okay,
and then Anita
He's intimately
Morgus,
involved in it.
cool,
who owns it.
Yeah.
She's on the Downtown Association.
sweet. Yeah, just, it was like, that's that thing, right? If you could entice a buyer for it.
Yes,
And say, if you come into this area, we would like to help you also, you
yes,
know, with.
yes,
With
Yes.
job, or whatever that is, right? Cause assuming it's
Absolutely.
a commercial endeavor.
yeah, so that's a big, my husband and I had looked into that too and did some extensive research and it's a big project.
Yeah, oh, I'm sure.
But really cool, it's a really cool building in the history and the upstairs is so neat and there's so much cool stuff in there, so.
It's really just the seismic stuff.
Yeah, the seismic stuff and then,
That'll be part of the haunted tour,
yeah,
right?
I
Like, you know,
yeah.
hey, if the building
I know.
shakes, it's fine.
I know,
It's the
yeah.
ghost.
Yeah. But I think that revitalization grant, that can go towards purchasing of a property. Or seismic, yeah, it can go to that, but it's like, gosh, what if the city wanted to buy that building, you know, and then got behind, you know, it's only $400,000, so you wouldn't have the extra money to fix it. But the city, you know, potentially that could be a property that could be identified, that could be purchased, or the cool building, that's the Lavender Company people,
The Purple House.
not the Purple House, the, next to the fire station.
The one that's next
To the left, where it's being built with just the foundation.
Across the street from that, so right behind the coffee drive-through, between the coffee drive-through and the fire station.
The house is
That
being
building?
renovated?
No,
Oh, I don't know. I don't know.
Anyway, there's lots of really interesting buildings.
Oh, yeah.
Basically, and.
Yeah, cause it goes Larson House Coffee and then whatever that thing you're talking about, then the fire, I know what you're talking, yeah.
The house is right there.
But it's back. It's like, it's
It's.
one over,
I
sorry.
can, we can look at a map.
We need to take a field trip one. of
I
these
know,
days.
yeah, yeah.
Maybe when we do our inventory. We'll do it.
We'll have it.
So what I will do is I'm getting regular emails from Joya. Are you on Joya's emails? Because there's some like grant stuff in there. And so I can just make sure that if I get something and also the Main Street stuff, the weekly stuff, I'll forward those out to everybody.
Yeah, I think sometimes that can, I think that's a good idea, but sometimes it can also be a little bit overwhelming to try to just keep up on all the grants, right? And
Okay.
identify what is it the project for this grant? sometimes what is easier for me is, and I'm not saying don't do it, I still think
Okay.
everyone should be aware of what's out there, because it might spark someone else's.
Yeah,
But sometimes it's easier when you identify the building or the project and then figure out what the grants
Yes.
are for that versus seeing a grant and seeing what fits into it. You know what I mean?
yes, yes,
So,
yes.
I think for this committee, I'm excited about the inventorying the buildings and
Yeah.
figuring out what's
Yeah.
here.
And so the
Same.
reason
And then we can go
that,
look at grants for that.
yeah. And so
And
I,
then like business recruitment, I mean, it all,
yeah,
how we recruit anything if we don't know what's available.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
And so
And I think
then-
recruitment might be a.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, but and
We
I
have some
think,
work to
and
do.
that's really
Yeah.
just by setting the stage, like, having it be an appealing place for.
Yeah,
So that'll just.
yeah, the tree
flow.
line, we're in.
Yeah, but so with the inventory of vacant lots and buildings, so I can, okay, so part of this application, the revitalization grant required a map downtown. And a couple of maps. And so then I had requested data on vacant buildings and percentages and all this stuff. So then I was like, Philip, please take this and look at that because that's his,
That's his expertise,
So
yeah.
he went through the map and then he put he put dots and marked things, because I was counting just like, okay, in what's considered the block. And so I was thinking like, okay, what's empty, what's not being used, and then, so then he kind of took a different, bigger approach, from his expertise, but that was great.
I'd love to see that.
And so then I thought, all right, this could be important for us to, and that's what, Philip not here, because he could speak to this more authoritatively, but there's, I think he forwarded it up. You saw that. He sent it to you.
Did he?
Maybe he did. I did, I know.
Back through.
He did. That's what made me think about sharing it, but when you think about like, let's, in the next block over.
Yeah, I guess
Here,
how
and it's
big
just
is the downtown of Yamhill? It was always like, I think
Yeah.
that would be
Yeah.
the,
So if you look at the map over
oh,
there.
okay.
Okay. Yeah, and in fact, we could go. Who counts? So,
So there's, just for your information,
Yeah.
Dustin, there are two notifications of descriptions for the city. There's the urban growth boundary, which is the entire city and its surrounding areas or surrounding properties that are buildable within the city. That's the urban growth boundary. Then there's the Central Business District, also known as CBD. And that is a core of the businesses that are on this map as well.
Gotcha, okay.
So anytime somebody says, well, we're talking about the CBD, you know exactly what they're talking about.
Exactly.
yeah, so we could even, like, if you want to look over at the map, and then I can show you what I have on. Here, because
Do you have a date on when he would have sent that? So I can.
last. So is the pink. Which, that's the Shell station, but here's this is considered nitrogen control
Oh,
business
okay,
district.
okay.
And then. Yeah, so then this is that aerial map that you gave me, and so then and district, but Philip was saying like, let's count, this is that, yes, no, this one I messed it up. With yeah, that's okay.
That actually helps identify where we
Yeah.
are. Because that makes this city hall, right?
Yep.
Yeah, this is City Hall, this is the T and E, right? That's the,
T&E
oh, am I
is-
wrong? Okay. Oh, I see the white
Right there,
building is
T&E
by
right
the,
there.
yeah,
Yeah, so T&E's
they'd be
here,
the same, yeah.
pause it. office.
So what was the building you were talking about?
This
think
is
it's right
that,
over there,
this, oh, the one I was talking about is, this one.
Is the house being renovated?
No, that one is this one.
Oh.
Yeah.
What's this building then?
We
That
don't
is, it was like a Rebecca Lodge or
What's
One-
Rebecca Lodge?
one of like
Like
a,
Elvis.
yeah.
Oh, gotcha, okay.
So wait, so one of them was Rebecca and one was there's two lodges. Anyway, it's awesome.
And what's?
It's got stage, it's got like all this
Oh,
like kitchen.
cool. It'd be
It's,
like a performing arts center.
yes, it's fabulous.
And what's this one?
This used to be an old folks, like an assisted living place. And so they've got an apartments now.
Before that, it was a retail for collectibles and antiques.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So you're saying
So-
that should be included in the downtown core?
Philip, So-
Even though it's a residential?
It's actually
Yeah.
a business.
so maybe. I
Residential
just-
limited commercial. That
Yeah,
one.
yeah,
That's
Yeah.
one.
yeah. So my map
What
was
is limited commercial mean? It means
certain
kind of
things.
things, yeah.
Yeah,
Some of the
So-
buildings are commercial and some are residential and can be used as both, is what it means. Mixed.
yeah. So Philip, so when I was doing this,
So right now you're saying this peak is downtown core, right?
That's the CBD.
And what's? Is that
um,
the bank and then it?
Then it goes across the street. That's my house on the corner. and
This one's yours?
No, mine's mine's there and Patty's is
This
across the
one?
street. Yep,
and that's Kara's house.
and that's Kara's house,
Okay,
yeah.
so she's in the business, but this is the bank or is this the bank? This is the bank, isn't it?
Yeah,
That's,
yeah.
the bank is here.
That's the bank.
That's the
Because
bank,
this is the
that's
other-
the red
Yeah.
house.
And what, oh, and this is like the insurance.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And behind it is the district office and the other district office.
yeah. I keep wanting like zoom.
Yeah, don't think so.
But and then I learned from the insurance gals that that little red house there, like the owner was in Carlton.
Mhm.
I thought it was an out-of-stater.
And it's currently not there, right? It's just sitting
Yeah,
there.
just,
And it's basically just falling apart,
yeah.
especially the deck on the
Oh,
outside.
it's too small, percent.
Yeah.
So what Philip did is he sent a, he was like counting buildings, like what he's considering, like the form of bus barn and
Mhm.
so he did his,
These little black dots, what do they mean?
like, what's empty? So that's why
Oh.
without him here, I don't want to translate.
Yeah.
Sorry.
For him, but that's why I think next time we
But you're
do
saying he
this.
sent me that?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm not. You know.
Yeah,
And the other commercial property that actually is out of town is here.
And what is it?
And that is actually called
Fruit
Fruit Hill.
Oh, that's where like the pickleball courts are or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
Exactly right.
Right across, this is
But
where
it's
the,
not part of the central business.
Yeah.
Light industrial.
this is where,
Light industrial.
But that's where somebody wanted to put in a hazelnut manufacturing company, but they couldn't because we don't have the water
Right.
they need to operate.
okay.
So that's why we're limited, but if we could do this, imagine the tax.
And this area is the new
yeah, this
bus
is the
barn.
bus barn, yeah.
And this area actually is part of the railroad track area that basically used to go through from Carlton.
How come this is not identified as part of city limits?
It's not part of city limits.
The bus barn is outside.
Yes.
What is this considered? Just unincorporated?
County.
Oh, Yamhill County,
Yeah.
Yeah.
not
It's like,
Yamhill
I
City,
live-
yeah.
I live up here
Yeah,
and I'm
all
out
the
of the
white is
city,
Yamhill County.
mile up here.
What about-
Gotcha.
The borderline for is Stellar Mill Road.
So this is city,
So,
a
no,
weird boundary.
Mhm.
And so I'm just curious too, the properties, this is county, but like the property between when you leave Newburgh and you get to Yamhill,
county,
all of that's county?
county,
All is, it's not unincorporated, it's just county.
county. Just like the buildings that are, well, let's see,
Where is this?
the buildings that sit.
Is this the high
basically,
school?
Yes.
Okay, that big thing is all the high school.
The buildings that actually sit in here, property are residential, but they are on county property,
Oh, interesting.
yes. there's 5 houses out there that are actually sitting in between us and the road and is actually county,
Not even city.
not city.
That's wild.
So this just, you guys might not know this, but if I'm looking at single family residential, and there is no, this means this is our last buildable, are these our last buildable acres?
Now, then you have this, but this is
Family.
this is multifamily.
But I mean, but what I'm saying is the 35 acres they identified as left in the city for buildable housing includes all of these properties that are not. Is that right?
Yes,
Okay.
Yeah.
So when we were talking about identifying a housing project for a bill that Representative wanted us to look at, we don't have one specific spot. We have multiple spots that.
right.
Especially, and then with the water
And this
floodplain.
property is supposed to be coming up for sale. Which-
Oh, is that why it's being
That's
cleared?
why it's being cleared,
Oh,
but
who
it's
owns it?
basically a floodplain area.
Who owns it?
I don't know.
Where is this?
This is right outside, you know where the,
Coming in from Carlton,
Come-
driving in.
To the right-hand side.
just right next to
Right where the
the,
park-
right next to the park,
Yeah.
on the right next to the road.
That, but it's, yeah, all floodplain, floodplain.
Floodplain is.
So
right
where's the
there.
park?
The park is over here,
R2, single family.
there,
It's just not identified.
right.
Does the park have a name?
Boulevard.
Beulah.
Oh, no, Beulah's over here. What about the park? Where's the
Jane
park?
Hydro's
Jane
Park.
Hydro.
Okay, when that's here,
That is,
That's in the public works.
Okay.
47. The third, it's.
Over here, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well,
Let's see. Yes.
because public works would be.
Yeah, it's gonna be right.
Right.
yeah, it's like
It's
right
right
there, right?
Yeah, it's
Yeah, because
there.
they are clearing all this out, that's right, yeah,
Yeah,
but it is totally underwater. I mean, it's the one part that gets flooded all the time.
yeah.
There's also another house that they have built on, that's out at the corner here, that's in floodplain, 2 houses.
Is
in it.
this
I
all
saw
the
that.
new buildings? Is this
No. I think
Those
it's-
are-
they're way over
They're
here
here.
so this
somewhere?
map is,
Yeah, that's fine, yeah,
They're in here.
okay.
and the park is this,
I
or
think
the,
I think the park is.
I don't know
is
why it would say
here.
single family.
Yeah,
The park
I
is
think
here,
you're
because
right,
it's Third
Debbie.
Street, Third.
yeah,
I'm not-
I think the park sits in between this and this.
I like maybe here.
yeah,
Yes, like right in there,
Oh, this is.
because
all
it's
the
right in,
residential.
it basically dead ends into, Hemlock.
yeah,
There's Hemlock, so it's
Yeah,
gotta be
This
this.
is the park.
yeah.
It's just PF. It's gotta be park something.
Yeah, that's the park. That's park. This is all the new.
That's all the new,
57
yeah,
homes.
yeah.
And this is just empty county space, we don't, nothing.
Yeah, that's owned by the railroad.
Hmm.
Still,
We own
That's
this
where
spot
they-
here.
that's where the trail was going to go through, the
Or
Yam
down
Hillis
Everett.
Trail.
Yeah.
It was gonna start in Pearlton down here, and it was gonna go right through here, and it's gonna go right on into Forest Grove.
So you live up here in unincorporated,
Yeah,
or is it county?
well, it's city of Yam, I mean, it's Yam Hill, but we're not, like, I don't vote for anything city related. Because we're
It's
just out.
Right. There,
All right.
And
It
it's
is safely within.
It's official.
whatever that means, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
close to downtown. I mean, it makes me feel, I wish we could figure out a way to expand, not the CBD of it, but just commercial property. Like, you're right, like, if we had the water for here, that would have been great,
Yeah.
just in general, like.
What's this property? I mean, I know it's county, but is it farmland? Is it? Well,
I don't know.
Is this the other side? So this is, no, this is coming in. So, I don't know, it's on this side, this is all
Stiller's
hazelnuts,
Mill.
right?
This is Stiller's Mill Road, so this is like, there's housing, and there's some.
So, but basically, going back to the CBD, we need to identify the available
Yeah.
buildings and then the
Mhm.
buildings that we want to maybe approach with grants when the time is right.
Yeah, or just, I think too with this, shall we go back here? I think the,
And I think it sounds like Phil has identified a bunch, right?
yes,
Okay,
yeah. Yeah, because I counted a few, because I was trying to put that data together, and then he's like, well, his perspective on other spots, but if we really want to what, like with that little red house. with the-
Yeah.
It's like, if there's anywhere, or Rocky's house, you know, these are traditionally, you know, high visibility spots that could be, you know, that could benefit from being taken over and loved, you know? It's like,
Well, according
Well, it's
to
the same
the
as-
mayor, he's interested in selling to the right buyer
uh-huh, great,
for him.
yeah. Yeah,
And see, I think it would be the same as whatever the street going to my house is, right? You have T&E, but then you have that, it looks like an older building right behind the bank building that has the antiques and all that,
yes,
like.
yeah. Mary's,
I mean, I don't know if anybody, I never see a traffic through there, and I don't know if they're getting a bunch,
Yeah.
but
The building behind the bank building?
Yes.
yeah,
Is that
the
Mary's?
antique, yeah, Mary's
Yeah.
antique place, yeah. So that's definitely somebody to. I've
just,
met her
just in
before,
general,
talked to her,
right? And then
yeah.
obviously all the storefront that like supposed
Mhm.
boba shop was supposed to go, all that storefront could like figuring out what the leases are, what all the terms and all that fun stuff
Mhm.
would be.
Yeah, yeah, so I think, yeah, so next time business, yeah, inventory of buildings. And then with Lillian's, I talked to Lillian the other day and we're gonna meet with her sometime later this week just to show her our plans, because we have to talk about the retaining wall that we're gonna redo, but that's on her property. And so then just kind of start gently having discussions about how can we, you know, help do any kind of cleanup.
Yeah.
And we are gonna, beautification, yeah, and that would just be a lovely spot too, and then the bus is gonna have to get moved. And so it's because of the project, so Lance and I are gonna be like gingerly working on how to like support her. Yeah, and keep her, you know, she wants to have her lot, they're like, that's great, let's just make it look nice, and she seemed to be open to, yeah,
I think she appreciates that.
yeah.
So for next time, with Philip back, do we maybe want to do a full walkthrough of the inventory and
Sure, yeah.
maybe
Mhm.
we can bring copies of those maps and talk
Love
through
it.
what those buildings are?
Yeah,
And then if the weather's nice, maybe we can take a little walk.
100%.
I think that sounds great.
Okay, so let's make that note for next time.
Okay.
That B is gonna be our number one, basically.
We should be, go through with Philip and
Mhm.
maps, is it?
Yeah,
Maybe, and maybe.
So
a
we skipped over merchant support retention
Well, we talked about the grant opportunities and approaching businesses at grants
up in 4, yeah,
in 5.
but part mostly coming out of 4.
and I'll look up that,
I think that was kind of the same concept though. Am I
Yeah.
wrong on that?
So what are we doing to support and retain our local merchants?
well, part of this is all the efforts, like, these are all things that are by making things look nice and making it
That's
more
flowers,
appealing and.
that's,
Well, and
Yeah.
also by going
Well-
through, I think what we're saying is we just talked through all this stuff. And so now the next step of this identifying is doing this inventory and identifying, okay, these are the buildings we have, these are full and doing great, these are vacant and need support. You know, we need to find out more details about them so we know when businesses are interested, what we want to tell them. These are full and maybe need support and here's how we can support them. This one could use some storefront improvement and we can direct them to grants. Like sort of do an inventory. So I think this, by focusing on this at our next meeting, will help us determine that answer to that. Is that sound right?
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think engage with, so inventory, like, go around, identify things, talk about who lives there, who doesn't
Yeah.
live there, and then just kind of make like a stage for how to engage, how to bring them into the fold and
Make them what you
demonstrate,
say?
engage them and bring them into the fold with like, hey, here, communicate as things are getting better and we've got momentum. So maybe, you know, the timing might be right for those property owners. So,
Yeah.
yeah, so we can,
One other thing that
tour
I did just start to do is
engagement.
when business applications come in, the front desk, which we got 2 last month. You know, just make sure those go across my desk so I see them. So
Yeah,
I know what new businesses might be applying. And then I can maybe start bringing a report of that to council, just so you know.
That'd be
Not to
rad,
council,
yeah.
to committee, so that you know which businesses we have here. So let me make a note of that. Make a note of that, Robert, so I don't forget to do
Yeah.
that.
What was the information? Sorry. I was-
Bring, Shelley to bring a list of current businesses in the city that we have applications for.
And then I just have a random question, just kind of about the, how is information, besides obviously someone watching a video or the council or something like that, but like, let's imagine that the trees and the flowers get put in, right? Besides that physically happening, is there a City of Yamhill something that email would be my brain, right? Saying, hey, we're doing some things downtown, come check this out, or
Yeah.
hey, is it like, what is
I would
that
say
system
a Facebook
currently?
post.
I don't know, yeah, like
Facebook
what,
posted an announcement on our website.
okay, yeah,
We could even we could do when we're ready,
yeah,
mailing to the businesses.
yeah, just
You
something,
walk around, knock on their door and introduce ourselves.
100%, yeah.
There's not that many.
No,
Yeah.
that little, that pink area seems quite small, like, yeah.
And just,
Yeah.
I mean, it might be a good idea just to do that anyway and be like, hey, and we could even come armed with, you know, if you're interested, just here's some resources.
Yeah.
If you ever-
Yeah, and that's something.
Here's my
that-
card. If you want help, here's some information about this particular grant that might apply to you if you're interested,
Yeah,
you know,
just making. people aware.
grassroots, basically.
Yeah, because that was that thought, and then just a long next meeting topic would be with all the new development, and I don't know if you include my housing area as new development, maybe Robert would, but we're getting the younger people, the people, you know, that we want to have a
Families.
thriving community and everything, like what businesses do they want as
Yeah.
well, right? Like, of course, we would love a brunch spot. Do we want a bookshop? Is there things that they would love to see their downtown, I mean, attempt to have, hey, as you get businesses coming in, right?
I think that's a great idea and definitely something we need and we have talked about. I think that might come into play when we do an economic opportunity analysis, which would
Totally.
be the step after these two grants that we've got going on, which by the way, if you aren't aware, March 31st, it's a Monday, I think it's 6 o'clock, is the final citizen advisory committee for our two grants that we've been working on in the downtown. And the housing code update, and it's just something that is planning related.
Okay,
So in case you're
March
interested, but anyone's
31st.
welcome to come and you can just kind of hear what,
it's a Monday, right?
March 31st.
Do you know what time?
6 o'clock, it'll
PM?
be here.
Okay.
And it'll be the final step before it goes to council and planning commission for a public hearing, work session, I think, and then a public hearing. So there's opportunity for the public too. But if you just wanted to become a little bit more involved ahead of time, you could come to that. And so once those two grants are completed, I think in June, the next step would be to apply for grant funding, potentially for an economic opportunity analysis, which would then do some of that work.
Yeah,
So.
I just think, I mean, that's a cool way. You're becoming a new business owner here, right? It's a cool way to figure out if our
Community will support.
community will support, want it, all the things, right? Like,
And that has been something in like, before the YDA, as it was forming, it was before I was involved in it, but there was community-wide meeting, and then that was part of the discussion was like, okay, people, what do you want
what do
to
you
see?
want here? Yeah,
And, you know, coffee shop was
And
one of the things, and there was, you know, other things that people wanted to see, and that was that full engagement deal with Mary Bosch of the.
Well, just some past information. I don't remember the person, this was before Ross Schultz got involved.
I'm gonna have to excuse myself. I apologize. I was supposed to leave at 4. Today it's 4:15.
Oh,
Okay.
So I do need to leave.
let me ask you, were you part of that meeting where the city sat down and with all the councilors, the planning commission and everybody? And they had 3 grease boards that they were writing down?
Last March with Doug.
Doug,
Yeah, I was there.
yeah,
Yeah, that was before my time here, but yes, I was there.
okay. that information is valuable because it lists everything that everybody ever wanted here
Yeah.
in the city
I can share it
and
with you.
more.
It's actually on our website.
Okay,
Yeah.
It's called the strategic planning
Yeah, it's
session.
on like.
Got
And actually, just so you know, that is what city council used to inform their priorities. So we used that sheet.
Yeah.
Strategic planning.
Yes.
Yeah, it's on the website.
It
Okay,
is.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna have Angie shut us down and I'm really sorry.
okay, no, and then
Sorry.
I can just give a quick, Whitey report as you're walking out too. So we did, there's a press release that came out or from Oregon Main Street identifying the towns that have been selected for this upgrade in the levels. And so Yamhill is mentioned in the, as a affiliate level, so that will also bring more attention. And I think there's gonna be like a news register
sweet.
article and
That's great.
things happening. So there's.
Are you gonna announce that at the council meeting next week?
Yes.
Okay. And did you have a copy? Did you send me a copy? We can include that in the.
I think I forwarded you. And I'll forward it to everybody. I'll send it out.
Yeah, because the only notoriety
Oh, no,
you're
it's
getting
right
these
here.
days is for the fire department.
Oh.
And that's not good.
No. Positive. Okay, alrighty, well, then, I will. Anything else?
Nope,
Herewith declare second meeting adjourned.
adjourned.
We are adjourned.
And then, we just need.
I think she was sending her in. I think that's what she said.
And then I will send you guys the press release. Oh, I don't know what I have.
Great.
Oregon Main Street adds one new designated Main Street and 4 new affiliated, so yeah, went out statewide. What's your email?
All one word, bacon chef. BAC.
Oh, I guess you're in here,
Yeah, at Gmail. I should probably like make a different thing, but at some,
That's too fun.
yeah,
Okay. So here's Shelley and then Robert.
what are you telling me?
Oh, this.
Not my brain is, but yeah, keep going.
It is the press
The,
release.
oh,
Oregon
cool,
Parks and
sweet,
Rec Department.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
Would you mind sending me Philip's thing, that map thing?
Sure. Send that,
Thank you.
yes. I know. I'm going to do the